this manager, Christian Christina. These are people work with on this project. They're recent hires, and so they have a side. If there's time for us, we call how to system to make sure that we have safety gear that was done. So that's been our project. So the warehouse houses all the gear to go on their adventures. That includes everything from first aid kits and band-aids and all those tiny little items to kayaks and mountain bikes and the trailers to move those items around to location. So over the last couple of years, Explore often had a bit of staff turnover and they changed location a little bit. So that's created a lot of disorganization at the warehouse. And so we identified 4 sub-problems of the greater warehouse problem. So the first is the physical warehouse organization. It's just a little bit of a mess. Like they have shelves and stuff, but it's confusing and no one really knows where stuff goes. The digital inventory management component, they're not really keeping track of how many items they have for the condition of those items. And then they have a lending library component warehouse. There's no process image here. And lastly, when gear gets broken, there's no procedure around repairing that gear. So we'll dive into these a little bit more. So the physical organization of the gear, it's not cohesive and not structured overall. And so they have like shelves and bins, but no one really knows where to find anything. That's a big component of this problem. There's no communication across the teams. So that creates a bottleneck for the warehouse manager. Trip leaders packing for a trip, they don't know where to find things, so they're always having to rely on that warehouse manager. Hey, where's my stove? Or where'd the grass and climbing gear go? So then this kind of involves everyone going on the trip. So warehouse manager, trip leaders, mentors, and explorers. The physical organization really everyone. And then the digital inventory of the gear. Explore Austin currently uses a Google spreadsheet, and everyone hates it, so it doesn't get used. They have really low confidence in the Google sheet is accurate. So they really have no idea how many headers we have, how many tents do we have. It's a big question mark for the folks in this conversation. If items are lost, misplaced, or not returned, they're not sure. The spreadsheet says 10 items, but they count 5. It's just really crazy. And then a big component of this, we use this training here, is so they have no idea the age of gear. A good example of that would be throw bags. If this is their bags, which is life-saving equipment, it's over 10 years old, but they have no idea if that just splits in someone's head. Things like mountain bikes and the mountain bike trailers, issues, they have no idea. They just know that 1 out of 15 bikes is giving them issues, but maybe that bike should be retired. So this is really important, and they really have no organization. And then the lending library component, so the kids are in the mentorship program because they need a little bit of help, and a lot of them don't have equipment. So they are lending out group gear, these camp kitchens, tents. They're also lending out personal gear, like headlamps and pieces, all different kinds of items. There's absolutely no procedure on this. Things are going out, coming back, it's a hot mess. They're also, for the summer wilderness trips, they send a trailer of gear out to Utah in kind of summer. They don't really have any idea what is where. So checking in and checking out the gear would allow them to know the location of an item, the condition of the item, to be repaired, and who's responsible. If you send 10 plants into the field and send them feedback, knowing who that was. It's really important because that becomes cost. And the last component of this problem is the repair procedure. I think we all know if your gear is broken in the backcountry, you're going to have a bad time. So, because there's no procedure for pulling that out of circulation, damaged gear is at risk of going into the field. And if for any of your mountain bikers, if your trailer or your brakes aren't working, like that's just going to be a bad day out there. So there's also no procedure for repairing gear. I think a lot of us work for brands that have the robust warranty system, so this is important. If you have a tent pole that's broken, getting that tent into the warranty at their big actness so that it can be used. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty of the problems. And to come up with our solutions, we did some intense, robust interviews with the Explore Austin crew. We talked to trip leaders who were formerly explorers. We talked in depth with Christian and Christina, our logistics management team, and the program coordinators. And then we looked at similar organizations that have similar functions. So we looked at nonprofits that were dealing with youth and had a lending library to their organization. And we found there's a lot of systems out there, a lot of people selling lending library software. So we looked at about a dozen of them and really dug into the details of those and looked to see if they would fulfill this course. And this is our
Okay. So you can see there's really two key recommendations that came up with, and they kind of expand more problems. So we're going to touch on a little more and then we'll dive in. As far as the organization, really depended on creating a warehouse diagram, which is just the official name for a picture of where things are supposed to go. So we'll show you an example of that. And that's something that we were able to take all the way through to the finish line in this process. For the next three, we really had some discussion around like what's the right way to solve these problems. We solve them individually, one by one, together, like what solutions are out there, and spend a lot of time figuring out what the right ways to how these work. Ultimately, where we landed was a software-based warehouse system. We'll talk a little bit about what that looks like now, but I would just say one of the discussions we had is something that Explore Austin should get older, is something that they should folks who may have dealt with software as a service implementation, that sort of thing. Ultimately landed on this is something they should buy. Explore Austin, but surely they do not have the resources in-house to build this. They try to get this spreadsheet. And I think it's two. Sorry. A lot of big, so you want to make sure that the process is going on. You want to make sure that there's thing. So we really felt like after doing some market research, the solution that would offer to really solve these problems very nicely for often without that kind of pay on the burden of finding this. So this is an example here of a diagram build. You can see on the right-hand side, this is a screenshot from the diagrams that we handed off. This is one of 6 diagrams. What this shows is kind of the highest level view of the warehouse. You can see there's vehicles, there are 6 shelves going up the side, there's racks at the far end, and then there's multiple different groups as well. They each kind of had a loose purpose, but this was never done. So what we did was we took this all, created a high level view, created a winter floor set, and a summer floor set, really a set of 6 views that have a recommendation of what you're supposed to look where, formatted that for easy printing and lamination, and we worked with Explore Austin to then hand this off so you can get it printed, laminated, and up everywhere. This felt like inventory solution, all these things aside, you need a solid foundation if you're going to actually process. So the key criteria that we're really important to us is you to follow accurate art, but also so we actually built like smart art, and it's nothing fancy, but it's something that you can edit very easily. Critical like I mentioned, and then the other things I'll call out through this kind of design process where we added or kind of made official in the warehouse. The first is the area. So this is under shelf 6. There's a very specific place where something is damaged or broken that gets put into that area, and no one takes it out of that area unless people on the operations team. So it's kind of adding this level of accountability and tracking here. The other thing we added was kind of a kids crafts. One of the problems we heard from Explore Austin was that on Saturday challenges, there's 50, 60, 70 kids, there's 20 trick leaders, operations team, it's Saturday, people are raring to go, it's chaos. And that was where a lot of challenges came. So we wanted to balance that and the fact that what Explore Austin was trying to do is teach these kids to be content in the backcountry and to build these skills. And part of that is what you're going to need for my adventure today. So we designated a space where the explorer now can go and kind of pull their gear from, build out their packs, that sort of thing, without necessarily having a total free for all or help. So hoping to help. So there's more views on this diagram. If there's no questions here, what I can do is walk you a bit through now how we got to that broader part of the presentation response on. So you mentioned you did a bunch of case studies. So you just tell me organization it's everything from different river out there, like Wars, which is a multi-state large outfitter, to gear libraries, to different universities, kind of get a sense of how are people dealing with this challenge of managing thousands of units of inventory across a lot of people in and out across different days, reservations, right? It's really what we found through those discussions is that the organization is spreadsheet, they're using spreadsheets, is definitely a lower barrier entry, but it was then not used. So maybe you can build it really easily, but if something's not used, then it quickly falls out of date. They were often inaccurate, and a big challenge is that these things lack standardization. So the way that the AI would log something out of damage to my room was different than how Katie would do it, was different than how Clairyn would do it, and that made it difficult then to really have a full understanding of the process of what is happening with. Conversely, the organization that did software got a lot more organized. It reduced the manual tracking burden, right? So remember, this is a nonprofit with 2 people managing all of them. Like the manual element and making it very important. And as a result of that, right, it makes it easier to get adopted organization-wide. So software teams kind of be the way to go, but we did want to call out like there is a risk with this that you're buying into a service. If one of these vendors becomes funded or defunct, there's definitely a risk there. There's more also kind of use their solution, but we made sure to really probe on this and kind of do try to solve this through our market research with different vendors. So what we found in the competitive analysis was we looked at 7 vendors. They kind of ranged from very purpose-built, like equipment management platforms to POS systems that kind of had this functionality. And we found like this is there's kind of a gray area around it. We did an analysis of 7 vendors. We ultimately created that to the demo phase, really sat through and kind of pulled together or really examined what those platforms look like. And we did this across 14 different what we found is that a vendor solution really it came out most cost effective and really kind of like the best feature set. We'll talk about why that is. So realize this may be hard to see, but this is kind of a simplified matrix of our vendor assessment. So you can see we have the 14 different criteria here. The top section has the bottom section. But I just want to call out a couple of things around why the third piece, which is the third one down there, is looking at the fact that there's talking about a lot of different types of products. There's pieces like a candy method, they are the whole, there's things like grants, which are kind of smaller, but there's things like climate habits, which are experimental. There's a lot of different types. A lot of things, right? Like putting an individual SKU on every report is probably not the best as well. The other piece that we found was pretty important was toward the bottom here, assigning specific members. Talk about this on a whirlwind trip, and what we learned to discover is that Explore hospitals tend to keep out in the field for a week at a time, but the gear will stay home. So maybe I'm the trip leader for the first week, and then I can talk back to Klairyn and my practice. I can split across the two of them. And so like there's this piece where the gear's not coming back to their house as a warehouse. So we wanted this way to have a chain of custody so we can understand like what is happening to this gear, who is supposed to be responsible on one day. That's a very nuanced thing that we found to solve for. And the last piece here on the bottom is the kit functionality. We talked a little bit about that, but like again, can't be a mess kit. You want to be able to very quickly say, trip leader A needs a mess kit. Not trip leader A, go find a camping stove, 10 forks, plates, bowls, spoons, cups, this, that, right? Like, so we want to make sure that there's ability to pull things up to make it easy. Ultimately, what we found across these three vendors, Byturn, Checkroom, the Flybug, and the technical sheets here for comparison, was that Byturn hit a lot of the must-haves. The row here in the middle is a Klairyn, which we're able to deliver separately. So Byturn hits the must-haves. It comes in significantly under budget, as we're also set out $4,000 here. And then two pieces where there were a gap, kit functionality and scanning things in and out of the mobile phone camera are on their development roadmap for the next year. So we felt like the balance of cost effectiveness plus its features and release things the choice for Explore also. We'll talk a little bit about the implementation timeline next, but I think what I would wrap up with saying is that none of these solutions are necessarily perfect, right? Like any good tool needs the people element and the process element to go with it. So we put some recommendations in there for the Explore and I think they did great partners are very receptive to this. We feel pretty confident that the tool needs that we solve all of them.
So as far as implementation time goes, we were so we sort of brainstormed through what's the best way to do that, what is the time frame that's the best way to do that. So for now, first priority is getting the warehouse organized. What that looks like is using the plan, updating it, reviewing it, distributing it to people who need to know where things are at. Sort of walking people through that process. And then second step is software onboarding enforcement. And so what that looks like is doing the full inventory count. Making sure that people are trained with the process procedure of going through all the software. And then as far as like big ones down the road, we're looking at sort of training up staff, maybe doing a rollout and we're going to use the software check-in checkout process for Saturday John's first. And then see how that goes and extrapolate it out to some of the districts that are a larger task to take on. And then as far as what short-term tasks are required right now, you have, of course, the benefit and cost of actually implementing software. which upfront is about $1,500 per year, which comes in under budget, which was $4,000 for us to look at. And then investing in a barcode scanner. Luckily, Christian, one of our stakeholders working in this process in the operations part of it, is familiar with this whole setup. And he's like, I can do this. He's like, I can find barcode scanners, do what I need to do. I know where to find them. That's what it used to be about, $225. And then, of course, barcoding all of your products, which isn't else, right? So we did make sure to ask Christian, are you and your team like aware that this is a lot of work to take on, to get organized? And he said, yes, of course, I've done this before, like, I'm here to do it. And so we had the buy-in there. We're looking at barcodes. The challenge there is also barcoding product that is like sleeping bags. It's not as easy as slapping a sticker on it. And so we're sort of exploring with Christian along the way of what's the best process for that, what's the best type of barcode to use, how do we make them waterproof? We've got the kids using them, so they're not going to be like super easy on here necessarily. So we just put tape over it. Do we laminate them? Do we have keychains that hang from marine to attach to the zipper? So those sorts of things are required just to get up and running. Of course, taking inventory and then training staff. So upfront costs about two grand, just over $2,000. And then of course putting it into practice. And so now looking at long-term conflict, we've covered the costs, we've covered the budget, we've hit a lot of our must-haves. And so what we wanted to do now was, even though it's under budget, if we're a nonprofit, if we're spending money, we almost want to justify some of those costs. So we wanted to be able to assign some value to those costs. That is where often might be able to report on using different ways in the organization. And so detailing those, I'll go through this list here with us. Some of our returns on investment include preventing loss and damage. And so this is like one of our first conversations with this for Austin was, if I have 80 headlamps at the start of the season, at the end of the season, 40, that can add a lot of money. So if we're able to track where those headlamps are, who checks them out when they're coming back, hopefully we can prevent some loss and damage there, saving some money. We can assign a dollar value to that. Of course, saving time. So if we can do an inventory in one day rather than in 2 weeks, and we can do it in just a few hours on the barcode scanner, save time, money, and not have a lot of time spare. So hopefully that makes that easier for them. And then, of course, the risk management piece. Dan and Katie talked about this a little bit earlier, especially with our climbing gear, our throw ropes, our life jackets. This is gear that's going out that is not safe and potentially risk losing a life. Invaluable, we don't want to lose that. And so if we can use track products, take it out of inventory, when it's time for it to be taken out of inventory, hopefully we can reduce the risk there, save time, save money, save lives. And so just an example with the pro bags that Katie was talking about earlier, there was a third leader who has been in the organization for quite some time. New people have come into the operations and they didn't know that the pro bags had been around for 15 years. This third leader pointed it out to the operations. They were able to take that out and say, hey, this is probably a risk that's been around for a really long time. We shouldn't use them anymore, we need to get new ones. And so they had continuity and knowledge, were able to pass it on to the next warehouse person who comes along. That person can make a logical decision saying, hey, I need to keep this out of practice, we need new gear here. Another return on investment is our insurance in case of disaster event. So worst case scenario, COVID never happens. If the warehouse is fired, the tornado rolls through, we have a risk of inventory and evaluation of it. And turn that into insurance. Hopefully recover some of that. Or Explore Austin also had earlier this year a trailer stolen. They didn't know what was in the trailer. How can you recover that? Explain that to insurance. All the things there. Saving time, saving money, saving dollars. And hopefully recovering in case of disaster. Along the same lines, calculation of depreciation. So if we can evaluate our inventory, calculate depreciation as a time, we might be able to use that as and that's helpful. Garage sale revenue is something that is for hospitals looking at as well. If they have gear that maybe somebody donated 20 new light curtains or 20 new backpacks, they might be able to make a little bit of money using my sell gear here through a garage sale. So you can make some money there too. Higher job satisfaction resulting in decreased work. If we give people the tools to fix that, in this case, Christian and Christina, they're able to have an easier time in their job. They're able to be self-sufficient and have direction and have an easier time. They're maybe more likely to stay around, less turnover. And then increased trust in the organization. Two parts here. So we have trust by donors, because if we can use MyTurn, report on our inventory, which actually has some really great environmental reports that talk about decreased emissions and we're reusing gear. That might be important to a donor. It might be important to a donor to know what the nonprofit needs. And then second part of trust here is parents are able to trust this for also with their kids to take them out, because if we're used to having safe products, they're more likely to say, yes, take my kid out, I trust you with this gear because you know about it and you're tracking it to make sure that it is safe. Any questions there? So we might not be able to assign actual physical dollar values to some of these returns on investment, but they are really important. I think something that we wanted to invest in discovering with this for us to make sure that there was buy-in, but also an understanding that it's not just software management for your inventory. There are other things that come with that too. And then as far as wrapping up our presentation, we're actually meeting with Explore Austin next week to present this whole thing to them, walking through any questions that they have. They've been super responsive this entire process. We've met every Friday since Utah. And so they have been really engaged in making decisions, answering questions, asking questions, wanting to know like what can they do to be better. And when we first talked, a software solution wasn't even on their radar. We're like, I didn't even know that we could use software before this tell us. And then hopefully we're able to introduce Explore Austin to MyTurn, make the connection there, make this move handoff, allow them to have a good transition. Then we'll high five. But in chat meeting.
I think while we're okay, yeah.
The important attribute, one of the attributes that affects on the 3 programs demo, what was a green check mark on the Google sheet? What was the attribute that those 3 demos software systems did not address? Yeah,
good question, yes. The red X is member profiles for explorers and truck leaders. Oh, red X on this one?
Yes.
That was the planogram. So we actually are building that as part of our solution. So it's kind of like a green check, but the software solution didn't actually have a base to do that. It would be great if it had it in there, but we found a solution and work around for that for the nonprofit. Any other questions? Yeah. We'll leave her.
since you're implementing this, do you have like several phases of this program being successful that you foresee, like that you that envision in a year, years, etc.?
Yeah, so our idea was sort of to do it in like a phased process, so it wasn't so it wasn't a lot to take on right away. So first phase, getting inventory set up, and then implementing, training. But as far as like long term, like a year from now, do you guys have input on this?
Yeah, so I think one of what our recommendation is start with distance Saturday challenges. During the morning and come back in the evening, just so challenges, soft we know it's some but you know, we want
And then in year 2 of the software, we also talked about doing a refresher training for everyone in the Explore Austin organization, as well as doing another account at the end here to see how accurate this software has actually been in terms of maintaining the right amount of stuff in the warehouse.
We're also recommending that they record these sessions so there is continuity and knowledge still.
Okay.
We have some requests in the group chat if you can help people organize their storage units.
Yeah. 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 Thank you. That was awesome. Great work, y'all. I'm excited for them. They were on the chat, but then they had to jump off. So I'm excited for you to do the presentation for them.
Jonathan from last year does great work. I know how much EA needs this. He also lives in Texas.
I think he was the one that recommended it.
He was the one that recommended it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, yeah.